G'day everyone, Ian Fegan here, also known as Professor Shoelace. Today's video is about straight bar lacing, so named because it forms a series of straight horizontal bars across the shoe. Although some people think it's like the vertical bars of a prison cell, but you can make up your own mind about that. It's also known as Lydiard Lacing, named after the legendary running coach Arthur Lydiard, who recommended it for reducing pressure on the upper ridge of the foot. In fact, if you compare it to something like straight European, which also has straight sections, but it's got this underlying zigzag. Now those underlying bits are obviously what's going to be pressed into the foot, so having no underlying sections makes it a bit more comfortable, not to mention looking more uncluttered. A lot of people use this on dress shoes or just on sneakers because, hey, it looks pretty cool. So that's what it looks like. Let's see how it's laced. I've got it set up here on a simple sneaker, and you can see I've started already with the lacing running straight across the bottom and in through both bottom eyelets. Now we begin with one end. I'm taking the left end and running it straight up the inside and out through the next higher eyelet. Then I continue straight across the shoe and in through the adjacent eyelet. Now the idea is we've got both ends on the same side, and we can run straight up the inside, straight across the outside, straight up the inside, straight across the outside, and so forth if you've got more eyelets. So I'll take the lowest end, go straight up 2 eyelets and out through the first vacant eyelet. Again, this one goes in through there, so up 2, and again out through the first vacant eyelet. Now we run straight across on the outside and in through the adjacent eyelet. Again, straight across the outside and in through the adjacent eyelet. I'll just neaten that up there. Now here we once again go straight up the inside and out through the first vacant eyelet. Again straight up 1, 2, out through the first vacant eyelet. Straight across on the outside, in through the adjacent eyelet. And now that we're at the top of the shoe, we can simply complete it by straight up and out through the top eyelet. Here I'm tying it off with my world's fastest shoelace knot, but you can use any knot you like. And that's it, straight bar lacing. Now you'll notice, see I've got quite a long loose end there. In fact, if I compare it to crisscross lacing, the ends are substantially longer. I usually find the total end length is about 15 or 20% longer on typical shoes. So it's something to bear in mind when you use straight bar lacing. It uses up less shoelace than crisscross lacing, so you'll end up with longer ends. That's great if your normal ends are a bit too short. You can simply relace it with straight bar lacing and you'll have slightly longer ends. Now a couple of other points. I'll just show you this on my windows on my website. This is Ian's Shoelace site, which if I animate the straight bar lacing, you'll see it goes straight across, straight up, straight across, straight up, straight across, straight up, straight across, and finish. Now that's on a shoe with 8 pairs of eyelets. Here it is on 6, 4, or 2 pairs of eyelets. And the reason I haven't shown it on any odd numbers of eyelet pairs is that that's a real problem. Here's a shoe with 7 pairs of eyelets, and you can see that when it's finished, well, what have we got? We've got both ends sort of ending up at the same point. So do we run a diagonal, or do we run that and then they don't meet? Here I'll show you on my iPhone app. I've got a few workarounds. So this one I've just simply decided, look, let's forget the bottom pair of eyelets, we'll pretend it's only a shoe with 6 pairs of eyelets. Here we've actually run a single diagonal across the bottom. You could do that at the top as well. Here we've got a single crossover, at the bottom. Here we've cut the lace at the bottom and got one end tied off at the bottom left, whoops, and one end tied off at the bottom right. Here we've got 2 passes across the second from bottom eyelet, and again a double pass with this one sort of looped under before it proceeds up. This variation has both ends coming out through the top left eyelet and then across the top. When you've got that tied, you'll effectively have a double pass at the top there. And this final variation, what I've done is simply laced with straight bar lacing for the first 6 eyelets and then finished at the top with what we call lock lacing. Lock lacing is a special technique for additional tightening. So if you're a runner and you want that additional tightening, well, you've got a solution built in. So anyway, that's straight bar lacing. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you want more detailed instructions, diagrams, animations, you name it, you can go to Ian's Shoelace site.